Good afternoon. It is Wednesday. This is the 573 report on PowerMizzou.com. I am Gabe DeArmond. We will bring Mitchell Forde in momentarily to talk about, well, there's a football game this weekend. It will be a football game for at least a few minutes. We will break down Missouri and Georgia. We will talk about all the issues surrounding the team, and we will take your questions on the 573 report, which is brought to you every week by 573 Tees. You can find them online at 573tees.com. There is a run on thicker kicker gear the last couple weeks. You can find that there. You can find some PowerMizzou.com gear. You can find all kinds of Mizzou gear. A couple nice articles written in the last couple weeks on 573 Tees and their efforts in NIL with Missouri, a longtime partner of ours. And they have helped us out, and we hope in some small way we have helped them out as well. We now bring in Mitchell Forde. This is the show where we break down all the valuable information given to us by Eli Drinkwitz yesterday and tell you who the quarterback is and all the other things, right, Mitch? We've got all that, don't we?
Yeah, if it's going to be a short show. We know that Mizzou is going to show up and play. They're not going to quit. They're not going to forfeit. That was Eli Drinkwitz's main message yesterday, that Mizzou is excited as crap. I don't know exactly, as you put it, how exciting that is. I've never been that excited by it, but that's apparently a good thing.
It could depend on what kind of crap, how excited it is. I don't know if there's a difference in, the level depending on the source of the crap, but
yeah. So, and then they are not going to just let concede defeat. They will play the game. So, we don't know who will play quarterback. We do know that Georgia's defense is very good, and that's about. Oh, and and Mizzou's defense has to stop the run.
Yes, that is an evergreen statement. So I'm gonna let you decide where we start here, whether we start with the quarterback stuff or whether we start with the idea that Missouri is going to go ahead and show up and play a football game on Saturday.
I guess we'll start with that because that's, doesn't have anything to do with who's playing quarterback. Yeah, right. I credit Eli Drinkwitz for saying that, right? You have to say that.
Yes.
And it wasn't just that he said it. He went out of his way a few different times to be like, look, no one's given us a chance. And Steve Wilkes said the same thing. It was clearly kind of the message of the week. Like, no one's given us a chance. That you always have a chance. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't really think they have a chance.
Well, right. I mean, they probably don't have a chance, but by the same token, they play Division I football, and Georgia plays Division I football. The idea that this is the equivalent of, Lindenwood coming and playing Duke in basketball is frankly insulting.
Yes.
I don't know. I want to be clear here. I'm not calling out anyone in particular. Far be it from me to insult other people who do what we do, and I have asked my share of awful questions over the years. I'm in no way saying that. But if I were Eli Drinkwitz during that press conference yesterday, at some point I would have looked and said, look, guys, I've got a football team, and we're going to go ahead and show up and take our shot. Georgia, this is not – I don't even think Georgia's the best college football team I've seen in 10 – this is not 1995 Nebraska. They're probably going to beat Missouri, but this idea that – I thought the best thing he said, this is why you come here. You come to Missouri, you come to Kentucky, to South Carolina, to Georgia, to Alabama, wherever it is. You come here to play number one. I got the impression during the questions yesterday that, oh my God, it says number one next to their name. What are you going to do? I mean, Alabama was number 2 last year, and Missouri showed up and played them, and they weren't significantly worse than this Georgia team is.
Well, they're probably, I mean, better. I mean, maybe
Might
not
have
at
been,
that time, but that Alabama team was probably,
right.
I would say, less flawed than this Georgia team, as good as this Georgia team has been. Yeah, I mean, I agree, and you have to say that stuff, and you have to believe that stuff, and I do think he believes it. I think that's the team's mindset going into this week is, yeah, hey, let's give it a shot. Crazier things have happened, which is true. I also think that, yeah, I mean, just like, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and try to, say give anyone hope and say, yeah, well,
Right.
Mizzou's playing a backup quarterback and they're going on the road and they're playing the best defense we've seen in at least 10 years and maybe ever, and they haven't shown up and given another Power 5 team other than Vandy a real, game in a month. So, like, I don't like their chances, but yes, I agree. The one thing, it was one thing I thought when I was listening to Drinkwitz say that yesterday is, I wonder if this means he coaches a little bit differently than he did against Texas A&M, and it could, it might not matter. Like, right, they may just get blown out of the place right away and never have a chance. But like, I'd like to see him take some shots, mix some things up, do throw some wrinkles at him, be aggressive. Like it may blow back in their face spectacularly, but they're probably going to lose either way. So, like,
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know that I have anything specific in mind. But, yeah, if you have a fourth down on their side of the field, you better go for that.
I have something specific in mind. I said fourth and less than 4, I would go for it every time. I don't care if you're their 17 or your 17. I would go for it every single time because I think this is a situation where Eli Drinkwitz can win some people back. That I don't want to say he's lost, but some people that might be on the fence. Like, is there a difference between losing 38-7 and 64-3? I mean, I guess, but not really. So, and that was, I think that's what you're talking about. He coached the Texas A&M game to not lose 56-0. Like, there's no question. That's how he coached that game. And so go coach this game. Just, like, look, we're probably not going to win, but I believe in my guy. Like, I'm going to give my guys a shot. And I know to do that, we have to do crazy things that might not make sense. And so if you're facing 4th and 2 from your own 29 on the first drive, just go for it. Because the truth is, if you punt it and Grant McInnes gets off a 70-yard punt and pins them at the 1, Georgia might just run 99 yards on the next play anyway.
That is true. Yeah. So, yeah, I agree. Like, I'm not advocating for full, what's the Presbyterian coach's name? I don't know. The guy who
Kevin Kelly.
Yeah, Kevin Kelly.
I actually am advocating for that.
Okay, I'm not saying quite that far, and I will say, like, Georgia, is gonna want to. It's not a team that you necessarily want to spot points because they, are not the most explosive offense ever. But yeah, no, I agree. Like, take some risks, do something to show your guys, like, hey, I believe we have a chance. Let's try to win the game and not get blown out. So yeah, that was my thought when he was saying that yesterday. As I wonder if we will see that in action.
Coach the game like you coached the LSU game last year.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, that was flea flickers all over and 70-yard passes to dudes we'd never heard of. Go do that. Blitz every down. Like, literally put 11 guys in the box and dare Stetson Bennett to beat you. I mean, because he will, but take a shot, right? Make him prove he can do it. I'd much rather have that than just watch Zamir White run for 42 yards a carry.
Yeah, no, I actually do agree. I think that you put every available body in the box and maybe even line up a corner over a receiver on the outside and then have him go into the box after the ball is snapped. Right. Like, just seriously. Like,
we are not covering this guy. If you are able to get the ball to him, great. But we will not cover him on this play.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Might as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, what's it going to hurt? Again, I actually do think, though, this is legitimately, there's nothing to lose for Missouri. I mean, if they get beat, and we'll get to the quarterback situation in a minute, but if they get beat 58-0, literally everyone expects that. So what? But if you somehow manage to find a way, and I'm not even talking upset, because that's a little dumb, right? But just if you find a way to be in the game in the third quarter, which almost nobody has done against Georgia. I mean, Kentucky, like, a little bit was in the game. Clemson was. But outside of Clemson, nobody really has done that. If you just do that, you've gained a modicum of respect that you didn't have going in.
Oh, guarantee if it's a one-score game, like, midway through the third quarter, something like that, I mean, like, the tenor of the post game will be like moral victory stuff, which I kind of hate, but I would understand it somewhat in that situation, just because, everyone expects you to get blown out. You don't maybe get blown out, especially, and I'm transitioning for us here. I'm learning from the best. If you don't have Connor Bazelak at quarterback, which I don't know for sure, but it kind of looks unlikely.
I'm pretty sure. Garrett Dollins makes a good recommendation. Make the safety move before throwing him the football. I feel like Garrett is the noted show critic of Connor Bazelak, so that's a fair criticism this week. But, okay, so let's get to the quarterback stuff. And Eli Drinkwitz said exactly what we knew he was going to say on Tuesday, right? I'm not even interested in talking about what he said about the quarterback, because as we were leaving media day, I said, he said nothing, but go ahead and write a story that he said nothing, and you did that. I would posit that if Connor Bazelak was playing quarterback, we would have been allowed to watch practice yesterday. If Connor Bazelak was practicing and there was a chance he was going to play quarterback, we would have been able to watch practice yesterday.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, that's the type of thing where when something changes like that, you're like, okay, well, something must be different. Right. And what's probably different? The starting quarterback's probably not practicing, and he doesn't want people to know who's going to start if he doesn't play.
Right. And, I give him credit. He is better at dodging questions than a lot of coaches are. But, he was just flat out asked. So, I asked the first question about Bazelak, and he brought up, well, we have to see how practice goes. And I was going to ask it, but then credit to, I think, Max Baker, who said, so are you saying you believe that Connor is going to try to practice this afternoon? I'll talk about the injury report on Thursday. In other words, no. Connor Bazelak, we're not reporting anything. We're not breaking news because nobody's told us this. I'd say there's about a 0.2% chance Connor Bazelak practiced on Tuesday, right?
Yeah. I think there's almost no way he practiced. I think that, maybe I have no idea what the injury even is, but maybe you could be holding out hope.
It's a soft tissue injury. I don't know if you heard, but soft tissue.
Right.
By the way, the brain is soft tissue. We have no idea. I don't even know what part of his body the injury is on.
No, I don't either. I don't even really know what constitutes soft tissue, to be totally honest. But that's just kind of a me thing. Right. But anyway, I would not. Maybe there's a chance that it's one of those things all right, we're just going to see how he feels on Friday. Maybe we'll try to get him some limited practice, or we'll see how he feels in warmups. But I would be comfortable putting money on the fact that he will not dress at Georgia.
Yes, and so then we get to the real question, which is, so who is going to start? And that question for me was answered about 10 minutes after the Vanderbilt game, when Eli Drinkwitz said the decision to play Tyler Macon was, quote, situational. Translation, the situation was that we wanted to run the ball, and I believe Tyler Macon to be a little bit better runner than Brady Cook, so we played Tyler Macon. Had the situation called for us to throw a pass in any form, we would have played Brady Cook. Fair?
Probably, yeah. I mean, obviously we can't say for sure because it didn't transpire. But yeah, I mean, the fact that he
I don't know if you know what this show is about, but we just say things we can't say for sure, right? Or at least I do. Fair. I don't know if you do. But
that's fine. Yeah, I need to be a little more direct, but a little more outlandish. But yeah, I mean, I think I agree. I obviously he stopped short of naming Tyler Macon the guy, and he left the door open very much a couple times yesterday for Brady Cook to be the guy, or for both to play, which I kind of think will happen. I think that Brady Cook will probably start, and I think that Tyler Macon will have some series, and that if one of them suddenly it looks a lot better than the other, he will play most of the game. But it even was interesting where Dave Matter asked just kind of a benign question about Macon's development, and he didn't take the opportunity to really gush on. Now, he wasn't overly harsh. It wasn't like anything. I'm not saying press the alarm bells, Macon's going to transfer, anything like that. But he said, look, he doesn't really know the playbook right now. That would seem to be an issue for a starting quarterback. So, yeah, I would anticipate that Brady Cook would start and Tyler Macon would get some series, assuming Connor Bazelak can't suit up.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Macon plays. Because I am fairly confident saying I think Brady Cook's going to start and Connor Bazelak's not going to play. I'm less confident than you are that we see Tyler Macon at all on Saturday, simply because, again, the way Drinkwitz said what he said, and I give him enough credit that I believe he is smart enough that he doesn't ever say anything for no reason. He doesn't ever say anything and then get back from his press conference and think, oh, that's weird they're interpreting it that way. That's not what I meant. I think he knows what he's saying. And when he's asked a very open-ended question about Tyler Macon, and he says he's not quite as far along as far as reps in the scheme and knowing the playbook as you would like, that's telling to me. And it's not telling in that I'm not writing off Tyler Macon. He could start for this team at quarterback next year, and it would not shock me. I just don't think it's going to be this year. And so I wonder if the 4-game thing does come into play. And look, I understand the questions, and I understand that Eli wasn't going to answer them, but I do think you have to think about, okay, you've got South Carolina next week. That's winnable. You've got Florida, who frankly may have quit in 2 weeks. That's not unwinnable. And you've got Arkansas, who might be coming in here at 5-6, and that's winnable. So given all that, if you want to play Tyler Macon in 2 games and only 2 more games, maybe this ain't one of the 2.
Yeah, it's a few different things there. One, just to circle back to your point about not writing off Macon, I think that's an important thing to say. The hype around him has just gotten to be too much. It's gotten to be unrealistic, and I get it. The starting quarterback's struggling. You've got a guy who got all this hype in the recruiting process, who you were familiar with, who's got 4 stars next to his name, who's an Elite 11 guy. You want to see what he can do. I think it's okay to admit that without suddenly saying, well, he's the answer. He's got to be the answer because we need him to be the answer. And I just want it to be true, so I'm going to will it into existence. I think that's unfair to Tyler Macon. Expecting him to come in and be a significant player or starting quarterback as a true freshman in the SEC after he didn't play football as a high school senior is very few people could do that. Very, very few. And I saw the argument, well, Caleb Williams was the number 1 recruit in the country. That's really different. I was proud of my point.
And he also has a better offensive line and far better receivers around him than Tyler Macon would.
Yeah, he's throwing to other 5-star dudes, and he's not yet. He's got a better offensive line. But, you don't have the same expectations for the number 1 pick in the draft as you do for, the number 9 quarterback taken in the draft. No one says, well, since Joe Burrow could do it, Jake Luton could do it. It's just.
I'm a big, what was that guy's name?
Jake Luton.
Yeah, big fan. Big fan.
So, anyway. Yeah, I'm not trying to write Tyler Macon off, and I don't think anyone should, but by saying that, I think the simplest explanation here is that he's just not ready yet. And that's okay. That's okay. The other thing, the redshirt thing's an interesting question, and looking at the rest of the schedule, I think is a reason to not rush Bazelak back. If you truly believe he's the best option for this team, and he's not playing at 100%, and he is struggling maybe with some confidence, which, can't say for sure again, but it's kind of looked like it to me. I would not want to put him out at 50% against Georgia to get maimed, especially when you have some games coming up down the stretch. You could say the same thing, like you said, about Tyler Macon, where, maybe if we're going to need to supplement the, offensive game plan with some of him, we wait to do that. So there's definitely a few things to consider. I just generally think that the simplest explanation is probably the most accurate one. And there's no conspiracy theory. It's just that Tyler Macon is a true freshman who didn't play last year, who's not quite ready to start in the SEC.
Right. And Connor Bazelak is a guy who, if he was healthy, would start, but is very unlikely to be healthy enough to start, which leaves us with Brady Cook, unless you believe they're going to go Tommy Locke, who... I'm guessing no, but Kyle does have a question, and if there's a few guys watching here live, if you've got questions, feel free. We got a few minutes left after this, and we'd be more than happy to take your questions and go any direction you want. But Kyle says, do you think Drinkwitz is hesitant to move off Bazelak because he doesn't want to have 2 QBs possibly transfer? So... I mean, and again, we'll give credit to Dave Matter for asking what I thought was a really good question yesterday, which is, do you have to handle quarterback a little bit differently in this day and age? And Drinkwitz didn't exactly answer the question, but the first thing he said was the most revealing, which is, and the most accurate, which is quarterback is different than every other position because only one guy plays, right? So if I'm guessing, Missouri is going to probably have a quarterback transfer this offseason. And it is going to probably have another quarterback transfer next offseason. I mean, I have said since the day Sam Horn committed, the reality is that him, Tyler Macon, and Brady Cook, in all likelihood, 2 of those 3 do not finish their careers here. I mean, that's just like looking at it logically.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, and I think that, you do have to treat quarterback a little bit differently, and I think that his wave factored into Drinkwitz maybe at times not, at the end of those blowout losses against A&M and Tennessee, maybe not putting another guy in there because he doesn't want to necessarily say like, okay, you're for sure my number 2, and have the other guy be like, wait, what the heck? Maybe that's that's about the only time I can see it, but like, without, I don't think that necessarily impacts how he's approaching this Georgia game.
Yeah, and there is the one thing that he said on Tuesday that I actually liked more than probably anything else he said, and it's going to take me a minute to find it, but I'll give you the gist of it, and then I'll let Mitch kind of react, and then I'll find the exact quote. But he basically said, you can't run a program scared that the players are not going to like the decisions you make. So by pointing that out, and look, coaches lie all the time. Maybe he is lying here. But I would hope that the coach of the University of Missouri is not making decisions on his depth chart and on who he's going to play based on, well, this kid went to this high school and I need a relationship there and all that. Like, that's one thing that I understand why people think it factors in, and I'm not positive it doesn't factor in, but I hope it doesn't factor in.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think that just like if you're a good enough recruiter and the guy we think Drinkwitz is, like your relationship with a high school coach or with other prospects should be built on that. It has nothing to do with like, oh, look at this other guy. Like, I mean, you can maybe mention that in the process, but like you should have a relationship to the point where, if it doesn't work out for one guy, the coaching staff trusts you and understands you enough to say, okay, well, here, here's why it didn't work out. We understand that, these things happen. We'll wish him the best. Maybe Mizzou can help him out and, I don't know, finding a new home or something like that. Again, not pushing anyone out the door. I'm not trying to take this analogy too far. Right. But yeah, that's absolutely the way you have to do it. You can do little things sometimes to keep kids happy and to not put too much strain on a relationship that doesn't need it. Like, I'm sure there's ways to, coaches maybe have to correct kids and talk to them differently than they did in the past. And, maybe include them in various things outside of game day that helps keep them happy and stuff like that. But when it comes to the 12 on the field opportunities you have a year that dictate whether or not you keep your job, no, you can't, you just can't coach that way.
Yeah. And so here's the exact quote. He said, every decision we make in regards to who we are and what we're about is what is in the best interest of our football team at the University of Missouri. And I try to operate with that every decision I make, from personnel changes to players to uniforms, everything. What is going to be the best for our football team? So I don't really operate out of a sense of fear, or how is this going to affect one person? How is this going to affect the team? And if our team is not the right fit for everybody, or for somebody in the locker room because of that, then all power to them, bless them, wish them well on their journey. Blah, blah, blah. Basically, and earlier there, he said, I don't think you can operate a program based out of fear. I don't think you can operate a program based out of fear of what players on your team are going to do if they don't like the decisions you make. You have to make the decisions that are in the best interest of your team. And we understand there are certain situations that, yes, maybe other things go into it. But ultimately, and it's why pretty much every question that we've gotten, not just about the quarterback this year, but like I've been doing this 18 years, and every time somebody says, well, why isn't this guy playing? Because the coaches think somebody else is better. Eli Drinkwitz gets paid $4 million a year, and I would assume he is doing everything in his power to continue to get paid $4 million a year. If I got paid $4 million a year, the last thing I'd want to do is not get paid $4 million a year. And the best way for him to do that is to not put the best guys on the field. So, again, back to what we're talking about. If Tyler Macon doesn't play this weekend, it's because he doesn't think he's the best guy. And that doesn't mean he can't be wrong. But, like, he gets paid $4 million to make those decisions, and you and I get paid far less than $4 million to sit here and talk about him on the internet.
Yeah, and he has access to a lot more information, seeing as he is their head coach, offensive coordinator, and quarterbacks coach. Right. I agree with everything you said. I did just want to add that I kind of think if you got paid $4 million a year, the only thing, aside from not getting paid $4 million a year, that you would probably look into is getting fired so that you could then not work but still receive that $4 million a year in a buyout.
For $4 million a year, I would not be doing this show. 100%. Guaranteed. So, all right, we're going to do kind of rapid fire here. We got a whole bunch of questions while I was on my rant about why Tyler Macon might not start this weekend. So, okay. I don't know what this is about. Maybe you did. Someone has to ask, did you see the LB tweet, which I assume is Luther Burden, and does that indicate more St. Louis guys? Do we have – the only thing I see is a tweet from Luther Burden that says, I swear the city minds. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't even know what that means. Like, I don't know. I don't – that's not – I don't know.
Maybe there's a different LB. Maybe we can get some clarification there. But, yeah, I don't know what's being referred to.
That's I don't know. So, okay, Jim Bob says, Drink said that Macon is such a hard worker. If he works so hard, how has he not learned the playbook yet? Is the jump from high school and a missed year that big? I mean, to the second question, yes, it's huge. Quarterback at East St. Louis versus quarterback in the SEC is almost not even the same sport.
That's kind of the point I was trying to make earlier. Like, it's okay for a guy to not have picked up the playbook right now. It says nothing bad about that player. It is very normal. That's why you don't see a lot of true freshman starters at the Power 5 level.
Yeah. Darren Nick says, if and when things get out of hand, how long do you play Tyler Beatty? You can't get him beat up in a blowout, can you? Any chance of the last 3 games rides on him? That's actually a good point. If this game's over 8 minutes in, and I'm talking like 21-0 mid-first quarter, I'd be real tempted to say, Tyler, I know you want your shot, but maybe your best shot's in the last 30 weeks, and maybe let's see what Michael Cox or B.J. Harris or somebody else can do.
Yeah, that's a tough one as a coach because
he wants to play.
Like we just said, you don't want to give up on a game too early because you want to try to make decisions to try to win. You also you want to put your best player on the field, and he probably wants to play. But I would, especially after half, I'd play in the first half like normal, no matter what, no matter how ugly it is. If it's a 30-point game in the third quarter, I think if he's really making decisions in the best interest for the team, I think I'd say it's time to throw in some other guys there. Tyler Beatty's too important. I mean, we've seen it. I mean, at least Drinkwitz thinks so because he gives them the ball every play, and I'm not blaming him for that. Like he seems to be their best player by far. So I don't think you can risk it if it's a blowout in the second half.
Harrison Mevis objects to that statement, but yes, other than
hopefully
Harrison
he won't get hurt. Then I mean, if the kicker gets hurt in this game, something went wrong.
Big problems. Brett Stevens.
Hopefully they don't try a Steelers style fake field goal.
Brett Stevens says, do you think they would pursue a grad transfer quarterback to bridge next season, depending on how Macon and Cook look? You get a grad transfer quarterback, you're going to have more than one transfer out here. I mean, Sam Horn is not coming here to watch them recruit a grad transfer. Connor Bazelak ain't coming back next year to watch him bring in a grad transfer.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you run a grad transfer, you're pushing Bazelak out, and I don't think they want to do that.
Yeah. If a coach plays one guy over another based solely on where he went to high school, that would be the most St. Louis thing of all time, and he would be deserved to be fired, said Jim Bob. I posted that originally thinking there was going to be a question in there. It was just a statement. So more power. Okay, okay, there's another question about the grad transfer QB. Cam says, if you're Drink, you got to see what you have in Cook, see how he does against Georgia, and then decide if Cook or a playbook-limited Macon gives you a better chance in the last 3. I got a wild scenario. What if Connor Bazelak's healthy in 2 weeks? Like, he's the starter. I mean, right? So somebody asked me this in the mailbag. What if, whether it's Cook or Macon, whatever, they play and look like serviceable against Georgia, and then Bazelak can't play next week, and that same guy goes and beats South Carolina. And then Bazelak's healthy for Florida. Does he just get his job back automatically?
That's a good question. I think I would have to use the eye test a little bit there and see. I mean, is he, making throws we haven't seen? I mean, against South Carolina, because I think it's possible Mizzou could beat South Carolina. I'm not saying South Carolina's a pushover, but it's possible Mizzou could beat South Carolina without playing significantly better than it did on Saturday. Like, South Carolina's nothing special. They could give the ball to Tyler Beatty 39 times and have a quarterback make a couple nice throws, throw a pick. I mean, if the said quarterback is, looks really good, isn't making mistakes, is making throws we haven't seen, and gives the offense some noticeable juice, I would be okay with it. But it's just, I don't know. I'm going to quote Eli Drinkwitz here. We're dealing with hypotheticals. Don't have time for that. We're worried about Georgia right now. We're worried about blocking Georgia.
Excited. Davis. We're excited as crap, though.
Yeah.
Garrett explained his Luther thing. It means he runs the city and people are following him, I would assume. Many comments under it made it sound like he was pushing others hard to Mizzou. I mean, Luther told us the night he committed he was going to recruit hard for Mizzou. If that means people are following him and they have commitments, I don't know that at this point in time, but it's certainly possible. Edmund says, Mitch, I think this was directed to you. Your analysis is so negative. Why anyone still listens is unreal. Incredible comment from someone who's clearly not listening. So thanks for not listening, Edmund. That is fantastic. Well done. I don't know.
Yeah, I've been too negative.
It feels like a good place to end. All the people who are listening don't know why anyone is listening. So I don't know. I'm not listening. Are you still listening, Mitch?
Hardly. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go interview some players. Thanks for listening or not listening, whatever you guys did. Mitch, thanks for talking and not listening to me, and we'll see you in an hour.
Sounds good.
All right. This has been the 573 Report. If you listened to nothing this entire time, listen to this. Go to 573tees.com or 573tees location between 9th and 10th Street in Alley A in Columbia, Missouri. Pick up your Mizzou gear, your Royals gear, your Cards gear, your Chiefs gear, your Blues gear, your Power Mizzou gear, your NIL gear, whatever it is. Go to 573tees to find it, 573tees.com online. Appreciate those guys for being a part of what we do every week. And once again, appreciate you guys for listening or not listening. We'll talk to Anthony Dasher from UGAsports.com on the opponent preview show tomorrow. And we hope you continue to listen or not listen to that one. Thanks, guys. We'll see you then.